I keep wishing that I had more time to make these videos. More time than just the time that I have commuting to and from my place of work. Of course, I could actually make time, but I do enjoy the time before and after as time spent at home, time spent with my wife, with my family in whatever capacity. This is exactly what it needs to be. It is an outlet for expression and a place to just talk. A place for not just me to talk. Because I do read the comments, and the people that are gathered here and the experiences that you all are having, they are meaningful to me. And I will maintain that nothing matters the way that we think that it matters. Everything is being, and being experiencing being. And this is beautiful, this is meaningful, it's the only thing that is. Everything beyond that is a story. Great, we like telling stories. Stories are fun. We can have fun with telling stories. God, there's an Aston Martin next to me. That's confusing me where it's going. We like telling stories. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just, it makes for a smoother ride to remember to maintain the awareness that stories are stories. They are not the reality. That doesn't make them bad. And it does not mean that they're without meaning just because they don't have the meaning that the story would imply that they do. No, nothing really matters. Nothing is really going on, and yet what is going on, experiencing being, existing, conscious, alive, playing, enjoying, expanding, because that is natural, increasing in complexity, also natural. That is pretty fucking amazing. That is meaningful. It's not meaningful in terms of it's going to lead to something. There's no end game. There's no result to this. This is just what is. And I feel that when we resist that truth, when we are resisting the truth that everything is, we are resisting the truth of our being. We are resisting existing. And when any part of existence, when any shape of existing is resisted, it feels bad. It feels bad, man. Because we are flowing against us. We are flowing against the truth of our being. It is a straight up lie. It's a straight up denial of truth. Existence is. Being is. Everything is. When we get caught up in, but I don't want it to be, I'm afraid that simply isn't true. And it doesn't mean that we can't experience preference. It's more about realizing what we want is to experience everything. And whatever sort of preference comes from that is allowed. It's more of a surface level, again. At the core, the truth of us is that everything that is desired to be. Otherwise it would not be. Because we are free and we are playing. And sometimes in my playing, in my exploration, I draw something, I build something, I write something and go, I don't think I'll do that again. But I did it, and God, I am so glad that I did it, and how good it feels to have done that, to have had that experience, to have experienced being in that way. And I have learned from that experience, not a lesson, I've learned about the direction that I want to move now. I've learned about how I will be growing. I have learned from this experience, which was absolutely right and good and correct, that there is more joy for me in a different direction of growth. That's all. So there is nothing that is unwanted. It is allowed to guide. It is allowed to guide our creation. If I draw a shape and I think perhaps I would like these edges to be smoother, I would like to see what this looks like with smoother edges. And then I draw that shape with smoother edges and I go, it's not quite, I would like to try it with angular edges or jagged edges. And I try those things. And one of those things appeals to me more. And so I move forward with that. But sometimes I draw the smooth shape anyway because it adds to the color of the experience. I don't know if this is making sense, but we're painting, we're exploring, we're creating. There's no wrong way to create. If we realize that something evokes a sensation, if we create something, an experience, and we feel the sensation that is evoked from that, that's just a new color on the palette to choose from. And maybe it's a very special color, and it's a color that we decide we don't want to use very often. Or maybe it's a color that by itself doesn't really do much for us. But how amazing it is, we can still go, wow, that exists. That's incredible. Amazing that being that I am can take this form. That is remarkable. And maybe we find that when that particular sensation, that shade of being, is mixed with another color, something totally new happens. Something really interesting happens there. So there's no good colors or bad colors. Maybe you don't like the color yellow, but what happens when you mix it with blue? Oh my God, that's cool. I like that. And now I realize, I recognize there's nothing wrong with yellow. And of course, from the level of being, this is always no. Nothing is judged. Nothing is revolted against. It's all understood to be building blocks for more experience. That's it. And again, this more is not better. It's not better. It's just natural that as we play and we discover more things, we start combining those things. And now we're discovering more things from the combination of the things that we initially discovered. And then we have combinations of combinations. That's just how it works. All of those experiences, all of the discovery is equally valued and equally amazing. And it is the maximum joy that can be experienced in that moment. But here's the amazing thing too, is that joy is expanding. As the complexity of discovery increases, the complexity upon everything previous in experience, the complexity of our joy increases also. And that means it's more intense, it's more refined. These words that I feel that I'm using over and over, it's nuanced. There are subtleties to it. It's just, this is what happens. As we grow, our palate gets finer. We notice more things. We start to enjoy the combination of unexpected flavors, things that maybe we never even thought could be combined in a pleasing way. When you're a kid, when you're young, you want to taste mostly one thing because you haven't tasted that many things. This is your first time eating carrots. Whoa, that's a pretty mind-blowing experience. And all you want is that carrot taste. And that is pretty incredible. And then as you get older and you've tasted more things, you start wanting to combine them. You put the carrots with the onions, with the spices, you fry them in the pan. A whole new level of experience is available to you, but you still enjoy just the carrot. If you're paying attention, if you're really tasting, if you're really sensing, having this experience, you are aware you never forget the first experience and how wonderful that was. But you also recognize some things like maybe I don't like the taste so much of garlic by itself. I've had that experience and wow, that was sensational. I wouldn't necessarily choose to eat just the garlic by itself again. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. It just seems like something that, well, I tasted it, I had that experience. I don't really want to eat it by itself now. But if I add that sensation to something else, I use it to season, I mix it in, I create a new combination, suddenly a whole new experience of that sensation, now that it's been blended with others, is unlocked, is available, and I like it, and it's amazing. And really, I like all of it. I am enjoying experiencing. I am enjoying sensing. It is a lie to ourselves to say that we are not enjoying the experience of. You don't have to take your focus off of the what. It's not about denying it. This is not finding some silver lining. This is not looking a different direction. This is looking very clearly, in fact, actually clearly at what is. You can start with the what. You don't have to pretend that you like the surface level. If there are feelings of hatred, frustration, rage, disgust, acknowledge that. That's not wrong. But then can you go deeper? Can you go deeper and say, I like feeling that I'm feeling? I actually enjoy feeling the sensation. Take it out of the story. Remove the emotional sensation from the story. Feel the sensation itself, whatever you call it, disgust, anxiety. Feel it purely and recognize that feeling sensation is pleasurable. It is pleasurable to feel sensation. The mind is going to react against this. It doesn't understand what you're doing. It's okay. The mind has put all kinds of sensations into different categories and boxes and labeled some as acceptable and others as unacceptable. More than that, it's labeled intensities as acceptable and unacceptable. You will find on either end of this spectrum whether the brain has said this is a negative sensation or a shameful sensation that I am not allowed to take pleasure in, or even one that it does allow the taking of pleasure in, it will cut you off at a certain point. It will say, okay, that's enough. That's enough good feeling. That's enough joy. That's enough. It's too intense. we don't get to feel, we're not allowed to feel more than this. This is what we're expanding. We're expanding the spectrum in every direction, in every dimension. We are acknowledging that all sensation is good, in that it is pleasing to us. There is nothing so serious going on here. There is nothing dangerous. There is nothing bad. There is nothing wrong. There is no judgment happening. The only judgment that happens is in the mind. That is it. That is it. And the judgment that happens in the mind hurts because it is pushing against the truth of what you know, of what you feel, of what is true. Which is that everything that is, first of all, is, and is desired to experience. It would not be otherwise. It cannot be otherwise. That's just the way it works. It's not guided by some higher force. There's not some grand plan or purpose unfolding. This is just the way of being. Nothing is that isn't wanted to be. But it's wanted in a different way. It's wanted for the experience of it, so you can let go of the shame and the judgment and the guilt and what have you. Let yourself want to feel what you are feeling. Take it out of the story. Stop telling the story about it and what it means. What does it mean that I want to feel this? Nothing. Fucking nothing. It means that you are infinite being and you desire all experience. And the experience that you experience does influence your desire for future experience. But it's all you. It's all you just playing, just mixing colors, mixing flavors, tasting things, trying things out. All of it is an aesthetic experience. And you know what? You are the canvas. Ultimately, you are the canvas. And so everything that is painted upon you, all of the colors that are mixed, the way that being is expressing, the experience of this painting upon you. The paint is always wet, by the way. It's always moving. It's always recombining. It's always shifting into something new. And then at a certain point, the painting washes away. We're not going to get into the fact that there are infinite billions of paintings happening all at once. It's not important. The painting washes away and there you are, and you realize you're not changed. You have never changed. You are still pure, raw being. Just experiencing all the forms of being that could possibly be. Experimenting, creating, finding new forms by the combination of the ones you've already discovered. I like this image. I like to see it as this. We are drawing mandalas in the sand at the shoreline. First of all, there's an awareness that you are not the mandala. And yet there isn't really a difference because you are enmeshed with, you are experiencing, and experience is one. It's one collapsed thing. Even though there are two sides of it, it is one singular thing. It is experiencing. And so, while there is a distinction between that which is drawing the mandala and the mandala itself, there's not really a separation. One does not exist without the other. However, when the mandala is washed away, it appears to be gone. It's not. It's just a different form. The emptiness, that which would appear to be no mandala, is still being. right? And there is still consciousness there. Still, every bit as awake and alive and feeling. It is having the experience of empty mandala. It is having the experience of washed clean. It's just... And the mandala isn't gone because that was just the shape too. That was just the expression of being in that moment. The being doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't change. And so here we are, sitting in the sand, drawing these mandalas. And when we first start out, the shapes are very simple. Can you feel into like the first time you drew anything? What that was like? Not having a lot of coordination? Not having any concepts of shapes? Really, fully, directly, maybe for the only time, experiencing this with no thought, no concept, no constructs, no story about it, just you experiencing the drawing. And maybe you just made a little squiggle. You know, it wasn't even a what could be called a shape at that point. But you made a mark. You made a mark in that sand, and you were amazed at the appearing of this mark before you. And you could feel, even though you didn't have words to put to it, you could feel yourself looking back at you. Not even yourself, because self is another concept. You could feel you. You could feel the sameness of you, the same awareness and joy, the same delight looking back at you from this mark. And then it washed away, and you were probably not concerned because you could feel even in the washing away of the mark that which was looking at you didn't go anywhere. It just took a different shape. But now you've made a mark, and so maybe next time you make two. You can do that. Here's what I've discovered. I've discovered this. There's more. There's more of this. Amazing. And then that washes away. And then gradually you expand upon what you're learning. What you're learning is just creation. What you're learning is just shapes. And gradually the shapes become more complex as you realize, I can do this. And now I can do this and this. And I can do more of these. And you start arranging them differently. Different sizes, different amounts. Gradually your mandala is becoming more intricate, more complex. Every time you're making a little bit more before it's washed away. And you're never concerned. There's never a concern about the washing away. There's excitement in that. What am I going to make next? What if I move this over here? Ooh. Nothing is ever lost. You are constantly building upon what just was. Nothing is lost. So the mandala becomes more complex, more intricate and bigger. It expands. It's getting bigger. But it's not going anywhere. It's not leading to anything. You're aware of that. Nothing is going anywhere. It is just sitting here, drawing this mandala more and more and more intricate, more beautiful. Not because it's better. It's always the best that it could possibly be, and that's always obvious. But it is exciting. It is exciting and satisfying to be building upon itself in intricacy, in complexity, as you discover more of these shapes and you start to combine them. It's just fun. It's just fun, but there's no goal. There's no goal. And you're aware nothing is really changing here. You are still just drawing the mandala every time. The same as you did the very first. But every time you're excited. Every time there's more joy, there's more discovery to be made. More connection. And every time You are experiencing you more and more deeply. You are connecting with this which is looking back at you more and more deeply, in more ways, more intensely. And that's really what the satisfaction is from. You know, maybe you could look at it like you're making a handshake with a friend or a dance or something, and you just keep adding to it, you know? Every time you do it a little bit more, a little bit differently, and it's just fun. It's just satisfying play and creation and connection. It's discovery, it's exploration, excuse me, and it's just always expanding. And so it is becoming more, it is evolving, it is growing, but not in a way that is better. It's just more. It's always the best. Nothing is really changing. It is still just being. It is still just being, and you're aware every time that it's washed away. Entire mandala, all the complexity, smoothed out. There's no pain, there's no suffering there, nothing has been lost. The thing that is really real, the experiencing, and it is a shared experiencing, again, that doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't even stop when the mandala is washed away. It's not even stopping in the moments that there is no mandala and it's just empty shoreline. Maybe you have a couple of cycles where you don't draw at all. You're just sitting there marveling at the wet sand and feeling it gazing lovingly back at you. You're just gazing at each other. Not touching, not moving, hardly breathing. Just, really just being. And you recognize that that is all that there ever is. It is all just being, and that is perfect. That is so much more than enough. There is no question of the enoughness of this. It is beautiful. What more could you even possibly want? Being shared. It is the sensation of being with your lover. That's it, because that's what it is. Being in love with being. And there's no pretending, nothing is required, nothing needs to be done. It's just this like long, slow exhalation sinking into each other's arms. That kind of feeling. And then sometimes you get up and dance. Sometimes you play, you do other things. All of it is making love. All of it is making love. Anyone who's had a truly intimate relationship must recognize that. Making love is not one act. That's a fun one. That's a really beautiful representation of the enmeshing of being that is the true sort of state. But that is not the only lovemaking. Everything is lovemaking. Constantly, all the time. Intimacy in different ways, different degrees. That is being. So let it all arise. Let all of the colors on this palette present themselves to you. Let yourself feel them, feel the sensation, and then just recognize that you do appreciate feeling sensation. You don't need to, you don't want to change the sensation. You want to feel it. You want to know the feeling of it. You want to recognize it. When you recognize it, you know how to paint with it. You know how to play with it. You know how to form it into new shapes, new combinations, new exciting, delicious, never before experienced sensations. That is good. That is incredible. And you start to learn the stories too, the stories that evoke these sensations. And then you're not mad at the stories anymore. You see, you just wanted to feel something. You knew how to evoke that from yourself, and you did. Great success. Great success all around. There has never been a failure. What even is that? A concept, not a thing, not a real thing. Another amazing experience that we can dream up concepts for experiences that can't actually be. But by the dreaming up of them and the believing of the thought, the telling of the story and the believing of the story, we can experience the sensation of what that would be like. And that's all we want anyway. More color to paint with. More flavors, more spices, more sensation. There's nothing serious going on here. It is just play. It is just creation. It is beautiful. It is good always. This is not the denial of any sensation. This is the full acceptance of it. This is just the stripping. This is the letting go of the illusory meaning that we've attached to it. The stories around it. It doesn't mean what we think it means. It is just sensation, and we do want to feel it, and we are feeling it on purpose. Again, that doesn't mean what the mind thinks it means. We're building a palette because we want to play, we want to paint with more colors, because that's all we're doing. And there's only more colors to discover, more combinations of things, more fun, more and more joy, more bliss, more sensation, more fun, more lovemaking. How many more ways can we dream up to make love? Let's find out. I'm willing to bet an infinite amount. But we get to experience them all. We get to fall more and more deeply into love. That's what this is. That is all this is. Just let it be. I love you. Take it easy.